The early morning light streamed through the tall windows of Terminal 3 at Chicago O'Hare Airport, casting soft beams across the polished floors. Travelers moved through security lines, dragging suitcases, balancing coffees, eyes fixed on screens. Amid the subdued bustle, one man carried himself with a calm precision that subtly drew attention, even from the most distracted passengers. Nathan Brooks adjusted the cuff of his navy suit jacket as he approached Gate 12. His tailored attire, minimalist watch, and sleek leather briefcase marked him as someone accustomed to worlds where every detail counted. But as he handed his boarding pass to the gate agent, he sensed the shift instantly. The pause, the guarded glance, the tightening of lips. The agent, Lisa Carter, scanned the pass, frowned, and glanced at her colleague Mark Evans, stationed nearby. She leaned over, whispering something too quiet for Nathan to hear. "Can I see your ID, sir?" Lisa asked, her tone laced with an authority that felt more defensive than routine. Nathan raised an eyebrow. "Is there a problem?" "It's just protocol," she said quickly, but her quick glance over his shoulder betrayed unease. Nathan knew better. First-class passengers with valid tickets rarely faced secondary ID checks at the gate, especially after clearing security. This wasn't protocol. Without a word, he slid his driver's license across the counter. Lisa didn't scan it or check the details. She set it down like evidence and turned away, speaking urgently into her headset. Moments later, a security officer appeared, arms crossed, eyes cold with suspicion. He didn't speak or ask questions, just stood a few feet away, a silent threat dressed in official authority. Nathan exhaled slowly. He'd seen this before, enough to recognize it not as a mistake, but as a persistent pattern of unchecked assumptions. He stepped aside from the boarding lane, pulling out his phone with deliberate calm. His fingers moved with practiced precision as he dialed a number etched in memory. "Claire," he said quietly when the call connected, "I need the Horizon Airlines agreement from last month." "I'll wait." Outside the glass walls, planes glided across the tarmac, gleaming in the dawn light. Nathan stood still, composed, as murmurs stirred behind him. "Is there a problem?" a passenger asked, voice too loud to be casual. Lisa's face flushed. Into her headset, she muttered, "We're resolving a minor issue at the gate." "Thank you for your patience." The crowd grew restless, the atmosphere shifting. On the line, Claire Monroe, Nathan's chief of staff, responded crisply. "Got it. Contract total, $52 million. Signed 3 weeks ago. Want me to escalate to their corporate office?" Nathan's voice stayed low even. "Not yet. Flag it for now." Nathan Brooks wasn't just any first-class passenger. He was the CEO of Brooks Organics, a leading supplier of organic produce to universities, hospitals, and, recently, Horizon Airlines. His contract, finalized after months of negotiations, anchored the airline's new sustainable dining initiative, a rebranding effort worth tens of millions. His influence didn't rely on flashy displays. It was built on trust, reputation, and uncompromising standards. But to Lisa Carter, who scrutinized his ticket like contraband, none of that mattered. 6 months into her role, Lisa was eager to prove herself in a high-pressure environment. Her supervisors stressed vigilance, policy adherence, and control above all. What they didn't teach was discernment. Beside her, Mark Evans shifted uneasily, watching the situation unfold. "Lisa," he whispered, "you should double-check something." Lisa stiffened. His ID didn't scan properly. "Maybe," Mark said cautiously, "you don't realize who he is." Lisa's pulse quickened. She reopened the system, hesitating. Mark nodded discreetly at the vendor alert list pinned to the wall, highlighted at the top, Brooks Organics, Horizon Airlines strategic partner. The realization hit too late. By the window, Nathan stood, back to the gate's chaos, speaking softly into his phone. Claire's second update came through. Horizon's VP of Partnerships has been informed. They're moving. Meanwhile, 40 stories above, in a sleek office overlooking Chicago's Loop, Victoria Hayes, Horizon Airlines executive vice president, took Claire's call. "A boarding issue?" Victoria repeated sharply. "With Nathan Brooks?" Claire's voice remained polished. "Correct. Your staff prevented Mr. Brooks from boarding despite a valid first-class ticket." Victoria didn't ask for details, she didn't need them. Within seconds, she was heading for the elevator, texting legal, PR, and the COO. At the gate, passengers' irritation turned to open complaints. A businessman snapped at Lisa. "You're holding up the flight for what?" Lisa's hands trembled as she fumbled with the keyboard, her eyes darting to Nathan, who stood patient but unyielding. Then, from the terminal's edge, Victoria Hayes appeared, moving with brisk purpose, flanked by legal counsel James Carter. Victoria's sharp gaze found Nathan instantly. She crossed the gate area in quick strides. "Mr. Brooks," she said, extending her hand. Victoria Hayes, Executive VP at Horizon. "May I have a moment?" Nathan turned, gaze steady. "Of course." They stepped aside. Victoria kept her voice low but firm. "On behalf of Horizon, I deeply apologize. This was an unacceptable failure of our staff's judgment." Nathan's lips quirked slightly. A failure of judgment? Or something deeper? Victoria didn't deflect. "Both. And we're addressing it immediately." Nathan studied her, gauging her sincerity. "I wonder what assumptions your staff made when they saw me standing here." Victoria's jaw tightened, but she held his gaze. "Wrong ones. It's my responsibility to ensure they don't happen again." From a few feet away, Lisa watched, her stomach sinking as the truth crushed her. James Carter joined them, nodding professionally. "Mr. Brooks, we're prepared to offer public and private apologies. Any additional remedies you require, we're ready to discuss." Nathan's voice was soft but resolute. "I'm not interested in apologies, Mr. Carter. I'm interested in why an airline that prides itself on innovation allows outdated prejudices to persist at its gates." Silence hung heavy. Victoria met his eyes. "We'll conduct a full review. Bias training, operational changes. Real change, not lip service." Nathan reached into his briefcase, handing Victoria a copy of the Brooks Organics contract. "You rely on my company to supply every fresh ingredient on your premier flights. When you question my presence, you question your own foundation." Victoria accepted the folder with a solemn nod. "Understood." Nathan's voice lowered. "And next time, it may not be someone with my resources standing here." The weight of his words settled between them. Victoria personally escorted Nathan down the jet bridge. The flight attendants, already briefed, treated him with deference born of urgent clarity. Nathan took his seat in 1A, composed, untouched by the ripples still spreading from Gate 12. As the plane pulled back, Horizon Airlines scrambled behind the scenes, meetings, damage control, internal probes. Lisa Carter was quietly pulled from duty pending review. Legal teams drafted statements, PR strategists mapped contingencies. But Nathan Brooks didn't need headlines or vindication. His victory was quieter, deeper. When he landed in Portland for the Agricultural Summit, he blended into the crowd, shaking hands, listening more than speaking. His keynote was measured, eloquent, addressing trust, systems that falter on flawed assumptions, and small farmers who reshape markets with one season of faith and grit. Near the end, he paused. "It's not just how we grow our food," Nathan said to a captivated audience. "It's how we see each other." Assumptions left unchecked can erode the strongest foundations. Trust demands more. The applause was deep, heartfelt, not raucous. Back in Chicago, Victoria Hayes acted swiftly. Within a month, Horizon Airlines launched a new initiative, partnerships with diversity advocates, mandatory sensitivity training, and a subtle but profound shift in company culture. Lisa Carter wasn't fired. Nathan hadn't demanded it, but she faced an official reprimand, a transfer and mandatory retraining that forced her to confront more than procedural errors. Nathan Brooks' name appeared in industry journals, not for the gate incident, but as a catalyst for reform. He shunned public acknowledgement, declined interviews, waved off compensation, and returned to his work with the same steady purpose that built his empire. In a modest home in Milwaukee, his mother, Eleanor Brooks, clipped a trade magazine article, tucked it into a worn photo album, and whispered proudly to a faded photo of her son as a boy, "That's my Nathan." Horizon Airlines emerged stronger, its culture reshaped by Nathan's stand. Gate 12 became a quiet legend among staff, a reminder of the cost of prejudice and the power of accountability. Nathan continued leading Brooks Organics, his influence rippling far beyond the tarmac, proving that the strongest message isn't shouted, it's delivered by standing firm, forcing the world to see its own reflection.